Welcome into another episode of Buckeye Cadence. We have got a special treat for you today as Roy Hall Jr. is joining the show to discuss his new book and his involvement with the Ohio State football program, as well as some other things that he has going on. Roy, thank you so much for taking time to join us today to discuss everything that you have going on.
This is the place to be, right? This is what they tell me. They say they pay you the big bucks to do this. So I'm glad. I'm honored to be able to serve and join you this today, and it's exciting. I love it. Silver Bulletin, baby, let's go.
Well, Roy, we are honored to have you on the show today, and just being at your leadership conference last week and such a high impact day. So thank you so much for putting that on for the community to add value and really have the messaging of your book, Fight Through It, shared with the community. But Roy, let's talk about your story just a little bit. You played football at Ohio State, won a national championship, got to play in the NFL for a couple of seasons. But now there's this thing called life after football, and you have chosen to continue to impact people along the way through either your foundation and now this book. So let's talk a little bit about what you have going on right now in this life after football and what being a Buckeye has meant to you.
Well, that's a great layered question. Let's start in the back end. What being a Buckeye means to me is just using that position as a platform and understanding the responsibility that comes with being a Buckeye. What does that mean? It's not just being a football player. It's being from the state of Ohio, and we put in work. We don't deal with excuses. We go to work. We put in work with blue collar. We do what we need to do to take care of our families, and we do what we need to do to support and take care of the community. There is nothing glitzy or glamour about the state, in my opinion. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and that's just a city where we wake up every day with dark clouds outside, literally, and we go to work. And so being a Buckeye means putting in work not only for yourself, for your family, but also your neighbors and your community. And so that carries on throughout the football lifestyle and the football dream that I was able to live. But living out being a Buckeye, again, the same thing, doing what you need to do on a day-to-day basis to make the team better. It's all about the team. It's about the team environment, the team goals. You don't even get Buckeye leaves unless the team accomplishes the goals collectively. And so being a Buckeye is a part of that. That's a part of life after football, where you take that same mindset, Blake, and you say, I'm going to transfer that into whatever it is that I do. I've been blessed and fortunate enough to play this great game of football at the highest of levels. Those disciplines and the things and the characteristics that you develop being a part of a team sport, they transfer into life it really outside of football. And it's not an easy transfer for those looking to gain the same thing that maybe the NFL or playing at a high level will gain, which is notoriety, applause, and maybe a bunch of money, fame, fortune. But when you recognize and realize that your fame and your fortune and those recognitions, those sorts of things belong to God, but what belongs to you is this life that we have on this earth to be able to make a difference. And so I've been blessed to be able to live out the dream of football at The Ohio State University and play under the great Coach Jim Tressel, and then play under Coach Tony Dungy when I was in the NFL, and Jim Caldwell, and then also transitioning out of football to be able to serve as kind of the head coach for our Driven Foundation, which is 17 years in right now of serving the community. And so once you realize that you're here to make a difference and life is not about you, whether you're playing football or you're serving young people and families in the community, you do it with your full heart and your whole mindset to make a difference.
Roy, when someone's playing at the highest level, like you're talking about, where you have won a national championship and you've played in the NFL, and you talk about that notoriety that you can have, the fame, the fortune, but you still choose to use your platform and the way you live your life for good and to impact people. And I'm sure that you learned plenty of that from playing under Coach Tressel, and now your Driven Foundation or your speaking engagements or your involvement with Ohio State. Anywhere you kind of look around the state of Ohio and even at the national level, it seems like you have a hand in what's going on in terms of impacting people. Why is that so important to you to use your platform to impact people in that way?
There are tons of great people and great organizations, Blake, who are making a difference. and in their own respective way, using their platforms to make a difference, their platform for a purpose. There are a lot of people that write checks behind the scenes and volunteer behind the scenes and give and support people in lifelong endeavors and help meet needs across the board that you may never have heard of or you may never know about. And those people are extremely special as well. And I would, even biblically, there are so many people in the Bible that probably didn't get mentioned that make a difference every day and serve back then, back in those times. But then there are certain individuals who get called to the front line, get called to be out in front and be those individuals who can use their own respective stories and their upbringing, and they have just a little bit more responsibility and opportunity to do so. If you're running a Fortune 500 company, you're the CEO, you don't have time to be on the front lines every day in the trenches, mentoring in middle schools and high schools and dropping off food to people's houses. And you may contribute financially so that the individuals who have been called to do that can do so. And that's my responsibility now. That's who I've been called to be. And part of that is understanding how I grew up, being in one of the family situations or having a family dynamic where we needed those organizations who gave out free food and needed to depend on family members and neighbors and friends to be able to collect enough money at times to pay the mortgage and to be able to lean on your neighbor in the community for clothing and shoes, or maybe even a ride to practice when mom didn't have a vehicle. Those are the things that you grow up remembering. So now that I'm an adult, now I'm a grown up and able to have still be a Buckeye, still played in the NFL. But now it's more about how can I help serve these individuals who were in similar situations that I was in. And that's where, your test becomes a testimony, your mess becomes a message, your miss becomes a mission, right? That's where that happens, where you can look back and think about the things that were challenges. And now all of a sudden you get to champion people into a better and more positive situation in their respective lives.
And Roy, even talking about that calling that you're saying you've been called to the front lines, part of that calling from God is stewarding your platform, stewarding your foundation, stewarding your voice, even because you can use it in so many different places and so many different eyes are on you. And then you have these opportunities where you can go ahead and pay it forward, and how important being a Buckeye is to you, but not just to you, Roy, but also to the city of Columbus, but then the whole state of Ohio.
Sure.
And you have an opportunity to do that by being involved with the Ohio State football program to the level that you are. So kind of explain to everybody what you do around the Buckeyes and mentoring these student athletes and some of these coaches today.
Sure. The number one word to describe how I work with the Ohio State Buckeye football team right now is a servant. And if you are serving, using a restaurant example, your responsibility is make sure the guests have exactly what they need, they get what they ask for and beyond. And that you're willing to have communication with who you need to have communication with, so that when you return to the table, the people who are sitting there dining in have exactly what they need. And so that is who I am from a faith-driven standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, a leadership standpoint, a motivational position with the Buckeye football team. And I serve as one of the team reflection leaders. And so on Fridays, I give a motivational, faith-filled message before and or after team meals. And then also on Sundays, when we have another opportunity to reflect on the good things and the positive things about life, I'm one of the individuals that get a chance to lead that on Sundays for the entire team. And so these are moments where we get a chance to step outside of the realm of football and really make life about its pure essence. And that's just number one, the perspective of I'm alive and every day is a gift and tomorrow's not promised. Like time is a treasure. So no matter how difficult life may be at the moment or whatever it is that you're going through, it is tough. Absolutely. It is difficult in moments and you feel those emotions, but you have to have the proper perspective that you've been blessed to be able to play a sport and do something that you love. And not many people get to do that every day, all day, and to get paid to do it. And so it's very perspective driven. It's an opportunity to express gratitude, to step away from the pressure and the difficulty of playing at such a high level where the expectations are for you to win every single football game, win every rep, and be the best of the best year in and year out. That's my responsibility. But it's also to be a safe space. It's also to be a trusted voice and someone who can be trusted with the voices and the concerns and the burdens and the pressures of those individuals. And so being able to be there and being a safe, a treasure like chest to be able to deposit some things into someone that's been in the seats, someone who cares just as much, someone who is a Buckeye, but I'm not on staff. And so I get a chance to come in and serve in that way and make sure those guys have exactly what they need and they leave better after they have an encounter with me and the way that God uses me through my words and through the way that I perform those messages.
Roy, one of the things I caught right off the hand when you first started answering that question is I asked, what is your work with Ohio State football? And you immediately changed that word work to serve. And when you associate the word work, it's like, okay, I have to do this. But then serve is I get to do this. And it's a blessing. I get to go ahead and be a part of this Ohio State football program. I get to go ahead and share these faith-filled messages. I get to be in the trenches with these guys. I've gotten to wear that jersey. Now I get to pour back into those wearing that same jersey. Like I'm sure you
and Blake, it's if you think of someone who's serving, you already know it's going to mean sacrifice. Right. You already know it's going to mean you don't get a special title. You already know you might be in a position where you don't get notoriety. You already know that you're going to have to show up, be early, stay late, put yourself in position to take care of some things that maybe not even your responsibility. When you are a servant, it is literally communicating to the person that you serve, whatever you need, I'm going to sacrifice and do whatever I have to do to make sure that you get to where you need to go. That is my responsibility. Even if you don't thank me later, you don't do it for the applause, you don't do it for the thanks, you do it because of the things and the places that this individual is supposed to go and the things they're supposed to do. And so once you know that my job interacting in that person's life is to help take you to the next level, even if it's by 0.0025%, if I can contribute that much based on just being around and listening to what God wants to do with my voice and with ministry and using the Bible and using just being a friend at times, that's what's necessary.
That's so good. And there's often this misnomer that leadership is always about titles or it's about authority. And that's not what it's about at all. It's about serving. It's about other people. And it's about the influence that you have from wherever you are. Mm-hmm. Anybody can be a leader because you can lead from influence rather than a title or an authority. And Roy, someone who goes and speaks on a stage, someone who has written a book that your name is right here as an author right now, someone whose last name has been on the back of a jersey. It's easy for you to walk around Columbus, Ohio. It's easy for you to walk around anywhere with your chest puffed out saying, look at the things that I have done. Yet you choose to do the opposite and leverage that platform for good to impact those people. And so when Ohio State and Ryan Day have this role, like you're a team reflection leader, why is having that role as a part of a program so valuable to the players and the athletes and even the coaches around the program because of that pressure that they face, which I know is part of Ryan Day's foreword in the book, is that pressure is coming, prepare for it. Why is it so important to have that role around the program?
When I was at Ohio State, Blake, playing, we used to love when the old guys came back and gave us wisdom and just sat down and talked to us and hung out because they were unfiltered, very valuable, invaluable conversations that they would have with us about life on the field, off the field, academics, relationships, friendships, receiving coaching, life after football, life during football, how to handle pressure. Those things happen. And so now that I have an opportunity to have a similar role, it means everything to me. When Dwayne Haskins was at Ohio State, this is an opportunity for him that was like no other. I mean, he threw for 50 touchdowns, set the all-time Ohio State record in just one full season as a starter, and obviously went on to be drafted in an NFL. And he had a conversation with my son one day when we were at the mall up here in Columbus. And I saw him in the parking lot soon after he got drafted, and he was going into the mall, probably going to spend a little bit of money because he had that new draft money. He pulled up in his all black sleek Range Rover, all black tinted windows, got out, shades on, chain around his neck. And I saw him kind of striding and strutting into the Polaris Mall, and I yell, I'm like, yo, Dwayne. And, you know, at first he just kind of didn't want to turn around. And then he turned around and was like, yo, what's up, Coach Hall, man? Good to see you, man. Like, what's happening? So we dap up and it's all good. And I'm laughing. And so my son was in the car. He probably was about, 13 at the time, 12 or 13. And I said, hey, man, my son's in the car. Would you stop by and say hello to him? And so he went over to the car and, talked to him for about 5 or 10 minutes, man, and started doing exactly what I did for him and I do for the Buckeyes. Hey, man, how's your faith? How's your grades? Are you being respectful? Make sure you are a young man of good character. Make good decisions. Do the right thing when no one's looking. Be someone of integrity. And so while he's talking to him and my son's all googly-eyed and, he turns to me like, Dad, did you hear what he said? I'm like, yeah, man, I say the same thing to you all the time. Like, I don't understand. Like, if Dwayne, dude's 21, like, what are we doing? I just told you the same thing. And so Dwayne ended up walking away, and like my son could not stop raving about him, as you would imagine, as a young kid. And you meet Dwayne Haskins when he first got drafted. All of a sudden, you met a superstar. And you fast forward, and Dwayne obviously passed away in a car accident, in a highway accident a few years back. And when I was conducting an outreach, my son was there, and when that ESPN piece, Blake, popped up, that former Buckeye Dwayne Haskins passed away, and it popped up on my phone the same time as my son's, he couldn't believe it because it had seemed just like yesterday that it happened. And so you see the impact that people can have, which leads to your title that you were talking about with leaders and how it's not about titles. See, leadership is not about rank, it's about reach. Leadership is not about rank, it's about reach. How can you reach the hearts and minds of the people that are following you, the people who believe in you, the people that need you the most? What are you willing to do with your actions and your words and your habits and your money and your life to make sure that other people not only reach the goals that they want to, but can you reach their hearts so that you start to transition them from thinking about themselves all the time and thinking about the people that they can help? It's a life cycle of being able to serve, to give, to sow, to pour into. That's what leadership really is. It's about reach, not rank. And so when you start thinking about what's my title? How much money can I make? It's about me. How many people will listen to me? Even on social media, from a very low level practical standpoint, let me see my followers. The question is, are you worth following? Are you saying the things and doing the things that make me want to get behind what you're doing and what you stand for? And so that's what leadership is about. And that's what it means for me to be a part of the Buckeye team right now in that role. It's about reach. That's it. It's not about rank, because from a life standpoint, we are all equal. We all wake up. We get about 106,000 heartbeats on average every day. We inhale and exhale about 25,000 times a day, depending on how much cardio you do every day. But for the most part, we get the same 24 hours, the same 1,440 minutes. You get those all. So we're all on the same level in regards to life itself. And so with your life, what are you doing to reach others, right? What are you doing to reach others, and how are you helping them reach their goals? And so that's the blessing of being able to serve in the role that I do. I get to reach those individuals, reach out to those individuals and make a difference and help them make a difference in their lives on a day-to-day basis.
I really hope that everyone listening has their notebooks out, because that was just a quick leadership masterclass right there. I know I'm going to come back and take notes myself, but Roy, even using that situation with Dwayne Haskins and managing that with your son, and how maybe it's difficult to process an event like that at such a young age. And you can almost liken that to a little bit of that's adversity. And I know you talk about that in your book. And if we transition into your book right now, Fight Through It, what was the inspiration in you writing the book and then choosing that title of Fight Through It?
Everything's about relationships, brother. This me being on right now, relationship based. In October of 2020, I got a text message from a former Buckeye named Devin Bogart. Now, Devin is historically known in small Buckeye circles as the first Buckeye officially to lose his black stripe under Urban Meyer when we started the new tradition. Played linebacker from Glenville High School, came down here from Cleveland, Ohio, and he is just a wrecking ball. He is unafraid. He will confront you with his pads, and he's not backing down from anyone. And so the challenge was with Devin is he kept getting hurt. So he tore his ACL 3 different times over the course of a 5-year career. And his 5th year, he didn't even really play. And so he graduated from Ohio State, went on to coach some high school football in Northeast Ohio. And he gave me sent me a text message on October 12th, 2020. And it said, "Hey, what's up, Roy? This is Devin Bogard. I love what you're doing with your life, man. I love what you're doing with the Ohio State football team. I love what you did for me. I love the fact that, I love what you do in the community with the Driven Foundation. Are you willing to talk so I can pick your brain on some things that I want to do?" So I hit him right back and said, "Hey, man, I would love to. Let's get on a call later this evening." Because usually when my guys call, I just want to make sure I make time for them and let them know that they're a priority. And he hit me up. We get on the phone. We're on the phone for like 2 or 3 hours, brother. And we are going back and forth. Give him my blueprint on nonprofit work, the pros and cons, what he should think about. Gave him some encouragement. Talked to him about curriculum and how to evolve to be more than just a football coach, to really get in maybe some admin or start his own. So it was a great conversation. We get off the phone. He goes over the next year, starts to implement the plan. And, when social media, you can see people doing the things that they said they were going to do. And unfortunately, like life, you just don't text, you don't call, you just see what people are doing on social. So it feels like you're not really speaking. And I woke up on October 12th, 2021, a year later. And, you go through your prayer, you in your word, you studying scripture, and then eventually you loop back around to like ESPN.com or somewhere. You're going to check some sports to see what you missed. And the headline pops up, no different than the one that was for Dwayne Haskins, former Buckeye, Devin Bogard, dies in apartment fire. I mean, 6'2", 225, stocky, strong. And all of a sudden, a year later to the day, I didn't even believe it. I refreshed my screen, went back. I'm checking my phone. This can't be true. This ain't it. This is not it. I'm looking down. I pick up my phone and I'm like, what's going on? And all of a sudden, I then turn around and I refresh the screen and I look. Oh, it's true. My phone starts blowing up. I'm looking at the text message that I sent to Devin and he sent to me. And it's true, man. And so once the article started coming out a week or so later, what they described was the fire starting in the living room area and Devin starting in the bedroom. And what they described discreetly and quickly was he was in the bedroom when it started. He made his way pretty much to the door. And when the firemen came to push down the door, knock down the door, whatever it was, they found him on the other side of it. Wow. And so once you start to understand what it will probably take, when you start to do research and ask people who made it out of fires and what it was like, and you're reading the interviews and they tell you how dark it is, and they tell you how their heartbeat and their heart rate just multiplies by 100 and their adrenaline is rushing. Some of them even describe having to use the bathroom all of a sudden and wanting to have a bowel movement because they feel, not fear, they feel death. They know that if they don't get out of that situation, their life is over, or whoever else is in their house, that life is over. They can't see, they're coughing, they're choking, they're tripping over furniture, they're trying to touch the walls, they're trying to remember, Blake, what their house looks like in their mind without being able to see. And so they are fighting to get from where they are to get out that house. And Devin fought from the bedroom, tripping over furniture, fighting through, crawling, scratching, thinking about his son, thinking about his mom, thinking about his family, thinking about his organization, thinking about the high school, thinking about his life, and trying to get out the door. And man, the fight from a bedroom to the front of an apartment building may seem like it's close, but that thing is far, man. And he almost got out. But to have that level of fight based on the people that are depending on him and fighting for life itself is a very powerful analogy of how it works in real life. That all of us every day is fighting some sort of a battle that may feel like a fire. It is a full-on battle. Mental health battle, depression, anxiety, confidence issues, relationship issues, financial issues, purpose, all these different things that you're battling every day, fighting to be seen, fighting to be loved, fighting for your job at work, fighting to figure out who you are as a person, fighting for your life. Cancer patients, anyone dealing with health issues, bad diagnosis, bad news from the doctor, right? Or it might be somebody that you love that's going through something and fighting a battle right now. And so the mindset cannot be, I'm just getting through life, or I'm just going through it, bro. I'm just working through. I'm just trying to figure out a way to get through this hard time. That is a mindset of somebody who sounds defeated. And sometimes you don't know what to do. But when you get on that battlefield, as a football player, you know it's time to go to war. It's fighting time. It's time to fight, man. And in football, you can be physical, but usually in life, it is a spiritual fight. It is an emotional fight. It is a mental fight. And it's an opportunity for you to fight against yourself, where you want to quit, where you want to give up, where you want to tap out and throw out the towel and wave that white flag. It's a fight, man. And you got to know why you're fighting for, who you're fighting for. And if you keep going, you have to know what's at the end of that. And so that's why the book, Fight Through It, we titled it Fight Through It. I titled it Fight Through It. And when I say we, I'm always thinking about the people that help contribute to the book, the stories that I told. But the subtitle, The Battles, Breakthroughs, and Beauty of Becoming Resilient Enough to Never Give Up. We don't need you to be perfect. We know you're going to get knocked down. I know I'm going to get knocked down, but you got to be resilient enough to never give up. And when you think about a Dwayne Haskins, when you think about and consider Devin Bogard, when I think about my mom and growing up in a household with domestic violence, if I can draw from those moments where these individuals never gave up on certain instances in their lives, I certainly can draw motivation from them to be resilient enough to never give up in my own life.
And Roy, you're talking about the what about Fight Through It, the why behind Fight Through It, but what about the how, about how we can actually fight through it? And you're talking about resilience and how important that is. And sometimes it's easy to say a word like, oh, I am resilient, or, oh, I have done this before, but then it's different when you actually have to be that word that you're describing yourself as. So how do you fight through it? What are some of those practical tools and ways, without giving away the book, that you can fight through whatever it is that situation is that you're dealing with? Or how can you help someone fight through what they're dealing with?
Yeah, I don't mind giving away what's in the book, to be honest. I mean, if you guys are listening, watching right now, if you go get the book, awesome. But if not, the number one thing, and this is what Devin did, in his text message to me, it said, "Hey, Roy, this is Devin Bogard. I need your help." That was the very first line. I need your help. And so as a leader or in life, whether you're leading people or just leading yourself, when you are having challenges, the very first thing you have to do to be able to fight is tell somebody else. Because even though it feels like you are going through something alone, life is not intended for you to go through it alone. And so immediately, I'm dealing with this challenge. I have a challenge. Can you help me? And then the second piece is, if that person says no or disregards it or doesn't make it a priority, don't be afraid and don't have a big enough ego where you can't ask multiple people. Now, I'm not saying, hey, man, I need $5, $500. Hey, Blake, man, let me hold like $1,500. You be like, hey, bro, like, I mean, I can put something on it, but $1,500 is a big ask for asking me some money. But if you share the story, like if I don't get this $1,500, now all of a sudden, like I might lose everything because of whatever the circumstance is. And then you, Blake, go tell somebody and they tell somebody. That's how GoFundMe was founded, right? This is somebody that has something happen to them and they need some help. And what can we do to do it. That's the number one piece of the puzzle to fight through. That's how you do it. You, number one, ask for help. And then number two, when you're trying to fight through anything, you recognize that the fight is not really about you. It's not really about you. That's more of a spiritual component. I believe that oftentimes people are attacked because of who they're supposed to impact down the line. Mm-hmm. So if I wanted to impact you, if I wanted to hurt you as bad as I could, Blake, you might be able to take my insults. You might be able to take somebody firing you. You may be able to take someone stealing a title or not give you an opportunity. But let somebody attack your family. Let somebody go after somebody that you love. You'll turn into a dang on monster. You'll be willing to go to prison. Somebody hurt the wrong person. And that's what happens. So when you feel like you're going through anything in life, you're like, man, why am I trying to be eliminated? Why is something trying to eliminate me off the board? Right? And if I'm not in the position that I'm supposed to be in, who's going to be most impacted? Is it a daughter? Is it a son? Is it a husband? Is it a wife? Is it a team? Is it your personal team? Who's going to be impacted if you're not here? Right. And so I understand that when you start going through challenging times, it's like, ooh-wee, it is somebody that I'm connected to that's supposed to do some amazing things. And I'm not going to be the reason why they don't make it. I'm not going to be the reason why they don't accomplish it. To me, that's how my brain works. So when I wake up in the morning and I got to go over to the Ohio State football facility, the Woody Hayes football facility, and I got to go and serve and be there early first thing in the morning to be able to do what I need to do. And I wake up and I'm human and I'm tired and I don't feel like it. And on that day, if I didn't show up, no one would be mad that I didn't show up and no one would probably even question it. But if I don't walk those hallways and drop off those motivational notes and put them on a coach's desk, what would happen if I didn't? What if one of those coaches or one of those assistants really needed that moment? And then I was selfish because I was tired. And so when, again, life is not about you. That's in the book. That's a chapter, but life is not about you. And so when you recognize that, it shows you how to fight. Man, I'm fighting. It's the how is to ask for help. The how is to also sit down and really evaluate who the heck is going to be impacted most if I don't break through and I don't get to the other side of this. Because that's the beautiful part about fighting through it. Like there is a moment where it's tough and hard and difficult and just life altering. And then there's a breakthrough moment where you recognize and realize, man, I can make it through this. And then once you get to the end of it and you look back, oh, it's beautiful, man. You're almost thankful for going through it and having to fight. You're almost thankful for it, where you're like, man, I'm thankful for that fight I won. Because if I hadn't have gone through this and gone through that, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And so those are those moments where you really just have to shift your mindset, Blake. It's a perfect question. You just have to shift your mindset from going through, getting through, just praying through and waiting for something to change and go on the offensive and say, I'm not going to let this thing stop me.
Right. It's like that victim versus victim mindset where it's like you're going to have the victory over that instead of just life is just happening to me all the time. But then even in those moments when you're talking about you're fighting through and you get to the other side because of who you're going to impact, that's such a powerful thought of what would happen if I didn't do it. What would happen if I was selfish and I chose me because I was tired that day or I didn't feel like doing whatever it is that I knew I was called to do, but I just decided not to do. And then you can look back when you did it. You can say, man, look at how I overcame that. Look at how God was in that story to help me overcome that. Look at his faithfulness. Look at the people that are around me that have helped me through that entire situation. And it can motivate you again for the future, but it also builds that resilience. And so, Roy, when you look at those words like motivation and resilience, and sometimes they get to be buzzwords, but is there a difference between the two of those?
There's a difference, but they're complementary, but they both fuel each other. They literally both fuel each other because you can draw motivation from your past resilience. So at age 42, there are multiple, it's 10 of them in the book, multiple moments where I could have quit, gave up, where awful things are happening, and I can draw from my own personal resilience from the past. Hey, man, do you remember how hard that was for you when you had 3 surgeries in a row in the NFL and lost 3 seasons back to back to back? Roy, do you remember what it felt like when you found out that you had a blood clot and it almost took your life? Do you remember what it was like when you talked to Bill Polian, the GM at the time of the Indianapolis Colts, and he told you that no matter what you do, whether you get surgery or not, you're going on injury reserve and your season's over? And then the surgery that you opted for, they said was a 50-50 chance of you recovering. Those moments when you knew your career was over, Roy, right? And you're laying there looking at the ceiling trying to figure out what life after football looks like. Do you remember that 17 years ago, however long it's been? And so now I can use my past resilience as motivation to keep moving forward today. Now, simultaneously, in order to be resilient, you have to be pushed and pulled and thrown by something. What is it? Is it a family member? Is it your daughter? Is it a son? Is it a relationship? Is it your business? Is it your team in your business? Is it players? Is it other coaches? Is it people? Is it humanity? Listening to the stories of Devin Bogart or Dwayne Haskins, or hearing all these awful things that are happening in the world that you hear about on the news every day. What is it that you can use to motivate you to keep going to help be a potential problem solver? That's the piece. And so they go hand in hand. So in order to get back up when you're down, you can pull all this motivation from other people, your own personal experiences, to give you the juice to be able to pick yourself back up and say, man, I'm moving forward. So they go hand in hand. And so I believe that you need both. I believe that you need motivation, outside factors. You also need resilience, and it's built over the course of time. You can't build resilience until you get knocked down. You have to literally get hit in the face, so to speak, figuratively speaking. You have to be knocked down to be able to understand whether or not you got resilience or not. And then you start to build it the first time you find yourself sitting on your backside and you're like, man, I got to figure out a way to get up. And maybe the first time is going to be very difficult and very hard. When people that are getting treatments for different diseases, man, the first time they go in, they're nervous and they're super motivated. And then if the cancer come back, they're devastated. But they're like, man, I did it before. I just got to get in the right mindset to be able to beat this thing again and again and again. And so they go hand in hand, brother. So there is a difference, but the only difference is when you need it. And it's a tool to be able to pull out when you need it to get through whatever you're going through.
And in those moments, too, you're reminded of how strong you are and also how strong that you can be. And you're talking about looking back at all those past times. I'm reminded of Isaiah 59:19, where it's like talks about the standard and how that was an old war principle that you would use, where you write the past victories right on that standard. So the opposing army would have to look at those every time they were coming into battle, saying, look what we've already been through and look what we've already overcome. And when you have that resilience, when you can look back, you have your own personal standard, and you can look at that and say, I've been brought through this before. I have overcome this.
Brother, that's why they hang championship banners, for the same reason. So when they don't hang it so that we can see what we did, they hang it so the opponent could come in and they're like, yo, look at this. And then you looking up as they look up, like, and then you're reminded, like, okay, yeah, we did that back in 2002. Then we did it in 2014. Oh, yeah. And then we did it again in 2024. So we win a national championship on average every 10 years at Ohio State. You see what I'm saying? And other teams know that.
Yeah, and even talking about those national championships, 2024 and particularly, just to move into Coach Day, because you've had the opportunity to be coached by Jim Tressel, winning a national championship in 2002, and then you've been around the program for the national championship in 2024 with Coach Day, and he's the one who wrote the foreword for the book. And Roy, what was it about having Ryan Day write the foreword for your book, but also what has Coach Day modeled so much about overcoming adversity and your message, fight through it?
Well, if Coach Day could get a tattoo, another one, if he has one already, it should say fight through it, because he embodies that. And if there's anyone who has a real-time experience in the last year and a half, is Coach Day in the Ohio State Buckeye program, having lost to Michigan in the 2024 season and watching half of the city, if not more, turn against the entire team. And everyone's calling for, a lot of the Buckeye faithfuls calling for his job, saying he can't get the job done. And no matter what his record was, you can't get the job done. And then to go on and win 4 straight games, to be able to win a national title, even in the face of adversity. You talk about fighting through some hard times, fighting through battles, fighting through mental battles, questioning yourself, and then watching the worst of how we can be as passionate human beings say the most awful things about you publicly, social media, radio, on the television as well. And so to have that team come together and actually believe, as I was trying to consider titles, and someone who that I'm close to embodies what that means, is Coach Ryan Day. And that's from a football standpoint. The parallels from a personal standpoint, where he immediately talks about the loss of his father through suicide when he was 9 years old, and what it's like to grow up without a father that early on, and trying to process what that means. And that kind of dives into the ability to tie it all together, of being able to ask for help, and how admitting weakness is not a weakness, is actually a strength, to be able to say, I am having some challenges in this area. Can you help me work through it and fight through it? And so that was the reason why I really prayed for and wanted him to write that forward for me. And when I brought him the idea and the concept, he didn't hesitate, which was awesome. But because of that earned trust, and because of our real authentic relationship, he was able to back up what I was saying, get behind it, take some time to put together a forward that was meaningful, that was honest, and that in those few pages, I believe will make a massive difference, and it set the tone for the entire book.
And even going back to that loss to Michigan in 2024, November 30th, I remember walking out of the shoe that day, and it literally felt like the air was sucked out of Columbus. And then you see everyone carrying on in the way that they were, calling for his job. And then I remember going to bed that night, waking up the next morning, and I'm like, all right, what am I going to put in my piece? I'm just like, well, what if they go and win the national championship? And how is that going to be? What if that happens? And so that was the piece that I wrote. They came out the next morning. And then I look back on it at the end of January. It's like, they did it.
They did it.
And the story that came from 000 on November 30th to January 20th, winning that national championship and hoisting that trophy, and Coach Day talking about how that day had been the day that he had lost his dad. And it's a full circle moment to him. Like, it had been such a black hole in his life on that day, so much sadness. And then all of a sudden, like, it's for a reason. Like, it embodies his fight through it right there, from the time he was a child to now winning that national championship, and getting to do that with so many players and coaches, and the brotherhood that's formed through winning a title just like that. And that's even the culture at Ohio State. He says our culture is fight. And those messages go hand in hand together. I'm sure you see it all the time being in the facility.
Yeah, that's the message. That's the piece behind it. And that was almost my secret weapon. If he had said no, I'm like, but coach, man, you said our culture is fight. It's on the wall.
Right.
So no, he embodies that. The whole team does. And, you know, again, it's not so much a physical fight. It is for football players. And sometimes it is a physical fight for individuals who have some health challenges. However, the majority of the fights that we face are in our own brains, our own minds, and it starts within. And so you start there, and you have to navigate those battles. But if it's happening in your mind and you keep it in your mind, most of the time you'll lose, which is why Coach Day is huge on, hey, if you're having some challenges, some issues, you say something, because the more people that know about it, the more you'll be reminded that you're not supposed to be fighting alone.
Yeah, that's so good, Roy. And one of the other men that have shaped your life is Jim Tressel. And it's one of the last two things that we'll talk about. We saw the announcement that he's going to be honored in the Ohio Stadium Ring of Honor on September 5th. And that encapsulates so much for so many players, including yourself. But when you look at Coach Tressel and how he has influenced you and so many others, what lesson have you most taken from him that has shaped you as a man?
To be thankful, gratitude, It is the most powerful secret weapon, I guess, if you want to call it that, that you can have next to love. You know, earlier you asked the question, like, how do you fight through it? The other, we mentioned it with perspective. The other side of that, I guess, if it was a number three, would be gratitude. Just to be thankful to be alive, thankful to do what you love to do, thankful to wake up and have a reset button, thankful to go out and enjoy the awesome freedoms that our armed forces and people that sacrifice their lives every day have done for us. To be able to be on this podcast, I'm thankful and grateful. It doesn't matter what type of numbers it does, how many views it gets, how many listens it gets. We get an opportunity to talk about a book that I wrote, experiences in life, and talk about Ohio State football. I mean, what's better than that? What's absolutely better than that? If we wanted to, we could talk about your favorite pizza restaurant in Central Ohio. We can do whatever we want, and that is something to be thankful for. Even the moments where life is full on attacking you, or you are in the fight, in the battle of your life, you still have a life. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, that perspective of being thankful for something, being you could be going through it from a relationship standpoint with your significant other, and you could be thankful that somebody will listen to you. You could be thankful for the therapist if that's what you're going through. Financially, there are always things to slow yourself down, to pull yourself back and say, man, things aren't exactly the way that I planned, and I want things to get better. However, I have so much to be grateful for. And so Coach Tressel started every day for us out that way with our quiet time and our team meetings, giving us 10 to 15 minutes to reflect on life, to go through our winner's manual, and to express gratitude written and verbally as we got a chance to share those moments with the team and our teammates as well. And so that is the biggest lesson that I pulled from Coach Tress. It gives you perspective, and it's also an opportunity to dissolve and to really destroy complacency, and to also destroy entitlement, which I get into in the book as well.
And then, Roy, last thing, just to give everyone an action step. What is your one piece of advice that you have to leaders or listeners, even who are facing adversity right now?
What I would do in this moment to anybody that's listening, depending on if you're working out right now or listening in your car or just watching on your phone and just hanging out in your living room, wherever it may be, at your desk at work, I want you to pull out your phone. I want you to think about the very first person that comes to mind that helped you get to where you are today. And the very first person comes to mind. Hey, without this person, I know I would not be here. And I want you to send them a text message. And I want that text message to be at least 4 sentences of you expressing gratitude for that individual and how they have helped you get to where you are. Chances are you don't talk to that person that often. You don't talk to them as frequent as you probably should. You don't honor them the way that you should. Maybe you call them on Father's Day or Mother's Day or on their birthday or on Christmas or a holiday. But it being a random Monday or Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever day it is that you're listening to this, I want you to just send them a message and share some love with them right now while you still have an opportunity to express yourself in that way will be a gift to them, but it's also going to be a gift to you. And it also opens the door again for you to remember who they are to you, how they helped you. And if you're going through anything right now, that's probably the number one person that you should share it with to help you fight through that battle, not by yourself.
I'm going to do that as soon as the show ends. But Roy, your book, Fight Through It. Let's talk about how everybody can get that in their hands. Where can they go ahead and find the book online, purchase that, and then make sure they're getting copies to give out to other people because of how impactful that this has been?
Sure. You can, if you're listening, and I'd be honored to have you grab the book. It would be a blessing to me. You can go to fightthroughit.com, or Amazon or Barnes Noble. So you go on Barnes Noble, you like Barnes Noble, hey, Roy Hall Jr., Fight Through It. Same thing for Amazon. If you grab one on Amazon, make sure you leave a review for me after you get done reading the book. I recognize that there's other books that you probably read, other pieces of literature that you could take in and digest. But it would be a blessing to have your support in that way. But then also, I'm sure that if nothing else, just looking at the title, it can make a difference in your life. So again, fightthroughit.com, or the book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
And Roy, where can everybody find you on social media to make sure that they're staying connected to you, but then also your foundation so they can see the good work that you're doing in the community?
Sure. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all Roy Hall Jr. On Instagram, it's at Roy Hall Jr. _. And then I'm also on X as well. So look forward to shoot me a DM, send me a message, like a post, share a post, all that good stuff. But social media is a great place to find me. And then if you're looking for a speaker or for your next event, you can go to royhalljr.com, where you can find all my speeches and things that I talk about that help encourage leaders throughout the country.
Well, Roy, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. This was a blessing of a conversation, and I can't wait to share this with so many people. But guys, we appreciate you for listening to the show today. Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the channel. Please make sure that you pick up multiple copies of Roy's book. I promise you it will make a difference in your life. I know it's making a difference in mine right now as I continue to read through it. The website, tsilverbulletin.com, for all of our written coverage, and then at tsilverbulletin on social media on all platforms. Guys, again, thank you for listening to the show. Roy, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
We will see you next time. God bless.